Fingerprints can be recorded on a standard fingerprint card. Obtaining quality fingerprint impressions can be a matter of using proper techniques. Even though the methods of recording fingerprints may differ, the techniques for obtaining quality fingerprints are very similar. Fingerprint pattern types. Fingerprints are the result of minute ridges and valleys found on the hand of every person. In the fingers and thumbs, these ridges form patterns of loops, whorls, and arches. Loop pattern. In a loop pattern, the ridges enter from either side, recurve, and pass out or tend to pass out the same side as they entered. In the loop pattern, there are two focal points: the core, or the center of the loop, and the delta. The delta is the area of the pattern where there is a triangulation or a dividing of the ridges. When recording fingerprints, the delta and the area between the delta and the core must be completely recorded. Whorl pattern. In a whorl pattern, the ridges are usually circular. For a whorl pattern, all deltas and the areas between them must be recorded. Arch pattern. In an arch pattern, the ridges enter from one side, make a rise in the center, and exit generally on the opposite side. The arch pattern has no delta or core, but it too must be fully recorded so that its individual characteristics can be readily distinguished. Recording fingerprint impressions on a fingerprint card. There are two types of impressions involved in taking fingerprints. The upper 10 impressions are taken individually: thumb, index, middle, ring, and little fingers of each hand. These are called the rolled impressions because the fingers are rolled from one side of the fingernail to the other, in order to obtain all available ridge detail on each finger. The impressions at the bottom of the card are taken simultaneously without rolling. All of the fingers of each hand are printed at a 45-degree angle, and then the thumbs. These are referred to as plain, slapped, or flat impressions. The plain impressions are used to verify the sequence and accuracy of the rolled impressions. Steps for fingerprinting. The recommended height for the fingerprinting device is 39 inches, approximately 1 meter, from the floor. This will allow the forearm of an average adult being fingerprinted to be parallel to the floor. This position is best to roll and record fingerprints. If the fingerprinting device is not at this height, care must be taken, otherwise the finger will tend to be above and away from the fingerprinting card. If this happens, the technician may fail to capture the lower portion of the first joint, and the necessary ridge detail may be missing. Fingers to be printed must be clean and dry. Wash the hands with mild soap and water. Wiping the fingers with an alcohol swab and then drying them should prevent perspiration from being a problem. If the individual's occupation has caused a wearing down or rough surfaces on the fingers, use lotion to soften the fingers. Be sure to wipe the lotion off before printing. The individual being fingerprinted should be asked to stand in front of and at a forearm's length from the fingerprinting device. The individual should stand to the right and rear of the technician taking the fingerprints. Encourage the individual being fingerprinted to relax. Ask them to look at some distant object to distract them from what you are doing. Grasp the individual's right hand at the base of the thumb with your right hand. Cup your hand over the individual's fingers, tucking under those fingers not being printed. Guide the finger being printed with your left hand. Roll the finger on a fingerprinting Inkpad so that the entire fingerprint pattern area is evenly covered with ink. The ink should cover from one edge of the fingernail to the other, and from the crease of the first joint to the top tip of the finger. Using the right amount of ink is of vital importance. Too little ink and the impression will be too light. Too much ink and the fine details will all run together. In taking the rolled impression, the side of the bulb of the finger is placed upon the paper fingerprint card or the fingerprinting device, and the finger is rolled to the other side until it faces the opposite direction. Care should be exercised so the bulb of each finger is rolled evenly from tip to below the first joint. Generally, the weight of the finger is all the pressure needed to clearly record the fingerprint. In order to take advantage of the natural movement of the forearm, the hand should be rotated from the more difficult position to the easiest position. This requires that the thumbs be rolled toward and the fingers away from the center of the individual's body. This process relieves strain and leaves the fingers relaxed when rolling so that they may be lifted easily, without danger of slipping, which can smudge and blur the fingerprints. Roll each finger from nail to nail in the appropriate space on the fingerprint card, taking care to lift each finger up and away after rolling to avoid smudging. If using the ink and paper method and a rolled impression is not acceptable, you may use an adhesive retab to cover the fingerprint in its space. No more than one retab per finger block is permitted. Plain impressions, also called flat impressions, are printed last at the bottom of the card. The technician simultaneously presses the individual's 4 fingers on the right hand, keeping the fingers together on the surface of the fingerprint card at a 45-degree angle in order to capture all 4 fingers in the allotted space. Repeat this process for the left hand. Print both thumbs simultaneously in the plain impression thumb blocks, making sure that they are in the proper spaces. Quality of fingerprints. This picture shows a good quality fingerprint with a quality index of 0.9. This picture shows a medium quality fingerprint with creases and a quality index of 0.7. This is an example of a poor quality fingerprint with a quality index of 0.4. This one shows a very poor quality fingerprint containing a lot of noise and a quality index of 0.2. Examples of incorrect fingerprinting techniques and how to correct them. The fingerprint should be placed in the center of the block on the fingerprinting card. White lines, cracks, worn ridges can be improved by applying a lotion to soften the fingers and then wiping the fingers clean before fingerprinting. Rolled impressions are placed in vertical upright position on the fingerprinting card. Roll the fingers in a smooth, continuous motion from one end of the fingernail to the other. Do not apply excessive ink or excessive pressure to the fingers. For rolled impressions, make sure each finger is printed from one end of the fingernail to the other end, from extreme left to extreme right, and from top tip of the finger to the crease of the first joint. Plain or flat fingerprints at the bottom of the fingerprint card should be printed at a 45-degree angle. Record only one fingerprint impression on a single block of the fingerprint card. The green-colored picture on the right indicates the proper way of printing plain or flat fingerprints.